Welcome to the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, where we dive into the captivating world of books. Here at the Book Buzz Show, we encourage you to make your pages turn with joy and immerse yourself in a magical literary experience. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I am your host, Cheryl Brooks. And if you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. If you enjoy the upcoming show, please like, follow, subscribe, and share the broadcast so others can also enjoy it. For those of you who are new here at the Book Buzz Show, we do discuss the book and the characters, so there will be some minor spoilers, but we don't give anything major away that would ruin the book experience for you. In addition to being a live broadcast, the Book Buzz Show is also a podcast, and you can follow us under the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, wherever you get your podcast, so you can check us out when you're on the go. Also, I'd like to let you know that this episode is being brought to you in partnership with Black Odyssey Media, and that is their logo on the screen for those who are watching. If you're listening, again, that's Black Odyssey Media, and their website is www.blackodyssey.net. And here are a few of their authors on the screen, their book covers. And we have had a few of the authors on previous broadcasts. So you can check them out, go back through our broadcast and then check them out there. Again, that's www.blackodyssey.net. All right. And we have a great show in store for you tonight. We actually have two authors coming on tonight. And the first author, let's see, is Carolyn Boykin, and her book is called The Knowing. And the cover is on the screen for those who are watching. Again, that's The Knowing by Carolyn Mitchell Boykin. All right. And without further delay, I'm going to bring on tonight's guest as well as my co-host for this evening, Shavonna Futrell. And let me just bring them on. Welcome, ladies.
Well, hey, hello. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to have you on. Let me see. Just get some of this out the way so people would know what we're talking about tonight. All right. So it looks like we have a few people in the audience. Hi, JB. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us. She's saying welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And all right. And we're going to get right into it. Okay, so again, I'm glad to have you on the show tonight. I really did enjoy the book as I was telling you off camera. For those who are new to you, can you let us know about your professional writing journey and how you got started?
Actually, I started writing when I like to tell people that I am a born griot, that griot runs in my blood. I believe that it was just genetically encoded in me to be a storyteller. When I was a small child, I would sit outside and tell stories to the other children. And I did that for years. And when I was about 11, I was always an avid reader. I was an avid reader. I read way above my grade level. So I was exposed to a lot of books at an early age. And then at 11, I discovered Edgar Allan Poe. And that led me down the road of suspense, thrillers, and horror. And I stayed on that for a while. by the time I got to high school, I wrote all the time. I was a member of Urban Gateway's Writers Workshop at the age of 16. I did that for a couple of years. And I believed that I was going to be an award-winning novelist, and I was going to write bestsellers. And then life kind of came and took me in a different direction.
That doesn't
And
that always happen?
yeah, it did, it did. And so many, 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 many years would go past before I found myself in a position where I thought I was going to retire because I was at that age. And I thought I was going to retire, and they decided to retire me.
Oh no. Oh
And
no.
when that happened, someone said to me, I should pursue my passion. And when I went back and looked over my life, my passion was writing. And so at the age of 64, I submitted an application to Columbia College Chicago for their master's program in fiction writing,
Okay.
and got my degree at 67.
Ah, wonderful.
I got my master's at 67, and my thesis from Columbia became this novel.
I love it. I love it. Uh, looks like we have somebody else. Hi, Myra. Thanks for joining us. I love that, and I love that you was able to pivot and you didn't let saying okay I'm too old to go back to school or anything like that stop you. I really admire that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give a shout out and call it a God moment. Um,
Okay.
there are times in your life where things happen, and you know that it's time for you to put your trust and your faith in something other than yourself. And so I have to give a shout out for that because I think that had he not moved me in that direction, none
Hmm.
of the fantastic things that happened could have happened for me.
I love that. Love it. Love it. JB is saying very interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, and this is your debut novel, correct?
Correct, it is.
Such wonderful job for a debut novel. My hats off to you. And how long did it from the time when you finished the novel to it actually being published? How much time passed?
Uh, I'm going to say approximately 2 years. Yeah, it took it took about 2 years because um, I I sort of ran into a stumbling block because I had more ideas, uh, and it was going to end up being a 700-page novel.
Mm.
It's just a tad too long. Like
Just
we
a
got
tad.
way too much stuff here,
Right.
so had to kind of break it down a little bit, and so it was supposed to be 3 parts. In my mind, when I originally started it, it was going to be there was going to be this novel, and then there would be a sequel.
Okay.
And then things happened, and there was no sequel.
Okay. Myra saying that's similar to her situation when she was forced into retirement and she's taking up writing at 72. Okay.
All right, yay,
Yes,
Mara.
yes. Love it, love it. Um, now, how did you told us a little bit about and I can't remember if that was off camera, but how did you come up with the concept for the story?
As I said, it was originally my mom told me a ghost story when I was young, and she told me that ghost story, and then I told it to my children. And when I entered Columbia, I turned it into a short story.
Okay.
When I read the short story to my cohort, someone asked the question, "How did this come about? How did it happen?" And I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. I wonder how it did happen. And
Mm,
so I began to write short pieces. And eventually, when I got ready to do my thesis and I went and looked back, I had a collection of over 100 pages
mm.
of short stories, and they were all from the same world. So I
Okay.
pulled them together and developed it into my thesis and then into the novel.
Now, did you run into any challenges when you were writing the story and refiguring it?
I did. I found out that I had. It was almost like I had a beginning and I had an end, but
Mm,
there was something missing in the middle. There was something that was not there, and that was quite a challenge for me. I had to go back, figure out what it was that was missing, and it was there's a portion in there that you'll see that's called the interim, and
mm-hmm.
that was the piece that was missing. So I had to go
Okay.
back and I had to write that bridge that took us from the beginning to the end, and then that bridge in the middle.
Okay. Now, what have you learned about yourself since starting your writing journey?
I have learned patience. I have learned an infinite amount of patience, and I have learned that the book publishing is not what I thought it was.
Mm,
It's not. It's a very it's a process, and no one really prepares you for that process. You know,
okay.
when you kind of envision a book, you think, oh, they tell me I've got a contract, and literally in your mind, a month later, you have a book and it's out there, and that's just not how the process goes.
Mm.
So I've learned how to be patient. Um, I've learned how to I'm learning how not to stress, you know,
Mm,
how not to stress about different things,
right.
especially things like you're wondering, like, is anybody out there really buying my book?
Mm-hmm.
You would really like to be out there counting every person, like, did you get it? Did you get it?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, were you going to read a small snippet
I do
tonight?
have a little snippet that I can read for you.
Oh, okay.
This is at this particular point in time, Clyde has been he's been caught doing something wrong, and he's
Okay.
been caught. So
And I'm going
um,
to bring you forward
hmm,
I'm going to bring you forward while you read.
all right,
I hit the wrong thing. Okay. There
all
you go.
right. He sat there on a stool, watching her. She retreated to the only table and chair in the room. She sat, opening the worn family Bible, resting in its place of honor on the white lace cloth covering the tabletop, leafing through the pages. The light from the sky had dimmed, turning to full dark as she sat, her mouth moving in silent prayer, her eyes occasionally lifting to the ceiling and then casting back down to her Bible. More time passed, and Clyde could hear her breathing as she rose to cross the room to him. He counted the spaces between her breaths. If they were long, with a little sigh at the end, then she was unhappy, not angry, and he was safe. There would be no pain. If they were short and rapid, she was bringing the Lord's wrath to him. She stood, arching her back to relieve the ache of having sat for so long, then bent to pick up the bag, walking to stand in front of him. She shook it at him, the smell of decay and blood exploding into the air with each shake, and his eyelids fluttered involuntarily with pleasure. You do this, Clyde? You do this? She began questioning him, as if no time had passed since she first asked him the question. He remained mute, as always, when she confronted him with his sins. She tossed the bag to the floor, some of its contents spilling out. Stepping over the grisly remains, she reached out for his hand. He wanted to resist, to bypass this part and get to the other side, where she would hold him on her lap, his legs dangling above the floor and his head resting on her chest. He could smell her musky milk scent mixed with the scent of rose sachet that she wore. He awaited the gentle stroke of her hand on his head, moving down to the length of his nose and finally caressing his cheek. He could hear her voice, low and warm, as he listened to it with his ear against her heart. He lifted his head and raised his arm, his hand reaching out to her. Fanny took his hand, leading him to the center of the room. He remained there, rooted by obedience, with his head hanging down. He waited as she crossed to the wall, reaching for the heavy leather strap she kept hanging from a nail by the door. its surface marked with dark streaks of dried blood. She knew he would not move, would not attempt to run from her. He never did. Already tears streamed down her cheeks as she wrapped the strap tightly around her fist and walked back toward him, her head shaking from side to side. Why you make me do this, boy? She asked, the belt smacking against the palm of her hand. He tried not to flinch at the sound, but his muscles quivered with remembered pain. She stared at him for a long moment and then began again, the belt whistling through the air as she spoke. He had don't use the rod, hate his child, but he who love him, he beat him till the devil gone out of him. The words flowed over him as the leather came down against his skin, the smack of it aligning itself with her last words. He grunted, waiting for the next blow. It would be harder than the first, but not as hard as the next. Get you behind me, Satan! You demons, get away from my boy and leave him be! Her voice escalated with each blow, sweat pouring from her brow, stinging her eyes, and blurring her vision as it swam with her tears. She sobbed as the belt slammed against his flesh again and again. He tried to take it, to let the darkness strengthen him and absorb the pain, not letting it turn him against her. She was his mother, his light, and the only love he had ever known. His lips began to tremble, and he felt the first scalding tear burn a trail as it slid down his face, felt his mouth twist as pain raged through his body, felt the welts rising on his skin. Rushing under her next swing, he threw both arms around her waist, burying his face against her and sobbing loudly. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be bad. I don't want to be no sinner. Make me right, Mama, and I won't do it no more. I ain't gonna do it again. I won't sin no more. I promises. He gasped, the sound rough and muffled. He was on his knees, dropping his arms to clasp his hands in prayer in front of her. Please, God, make me right for Mama. Please, he wept.
Excellent, excellent. Very good narration. That was a very, very emotional scene. And the relationship
Was.
between mother and son, Fanny and Clyde, was a difficult one. Very complicated and very dysfunctional in many ways. Um, I can tell you that in the beginning, I actually felt bad for Clyde and I had empathy for him. And especially knowing that he had no control over how he came into the world, his how his features turned out. And I felt bad as far as the ridicule that he got growing up. And I was wondering whether or not if he just had the right amount of love in his life and that would turn, the darkness away. He did have love from his mother, from Fanny, but it was kind of a lack of a not a healthy love, and it was more obsessive. I thought. What did you think, Shavana, about the relationship between Clyde and Fanny?
Yeah, I felt like that was a little strange relationship also. And even with the prayer, I felt
Mhm.
like she was, I don't know, it's like she was hindering him. Like, she prayed for him, the devil to get behind him, but then she condoned, in my mind, she was condoning the stuff that he was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was a little strange relationship.
It was very strange, and then the breast milk stuff really was getting to me. That
He especially towards the end.
yes, yes.
Like, really?
We can kind of get with it when he's still small, but
Yeah.
um now did you come with that Carolyn, or was that from the ghost stories that you heard growing up?
Well, no, actually, Fanny, as Fanny developed herself, these were just strange things about Fanny.
Mm.
Um, I did not set out to have that as a problem or an issue, but
Mm-hmm.
as the character developed, she had all these obsessions and complexities about
Right.
herself. and they just kind of wove themselves into the story, forcing me to do more research because I had to do a little research when I got to that part. So yeah.
It was masterfully done. That scene by alone, and everybody is saying they loved the scene and loved your narration as well. JB is saying full of emotions. I recommend you all check out the book. Very well done, especially for a debut novel. I can't even believe it, but a lot of emotions. Your emotions gonna be up and down. Believe me.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of emotions, but it's very well done. Now, I also felt for now getting back to Fanny and Clyde's relationship. Fanny also had other children, and with her like need to protect and be all into Clyde, she neglected her other children and her husband. Um, and I really felt bad for Simon. I believe he was the younger brother right before Clyde, and he didn't get any of the affection from Fanny. Mainly, he got a lot of. He was seemed like he was always cowering whenever they were in the same room. So I felt bad for him as well. Um, we always go over our favorite heartfelt and standout moments, and one of the heartfelt moments for me was the scene at the grandmother's house, Fanny's mother's house, around Thanksgiving, I believe it was, and we getting Simon's perspective, and he had, he hasn't had a real meal in so long, so he's looking forward to getting out of their little shack and being around other family and his cousins, and also, getting some of this spread that his grandmother and aunts have put on. And then when they get there and something happens with Clyde and Fanny goes into protective mama bear mode, um, and then it just chaos from there, and then when they end up leaving, and then I just felt so bad for Simon. And his head is just down, and you could just imagine his belly is empty, and he has to go back into this like chaotic mess at their house, at their little shack. So that's in another one of those things that were very heartfelt for me. Very well done. Um, what was one for you, Shabana, as far as your heartfelt
Um, like when Cora, the part with Cora, the first part,
moment?
I was saddened because I needed Cora to deal with that situation. But then I was back happy when I found out that, I don't want to give anything away.
You mean as far as the delivery?
No, not the delivery part. The when he did what he did to Cora.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know if that's heartfelt, but that was very it saddened me that happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like you were saying before, it saddened me the part that happened about May, because I was
Right.
really hoping May would be that turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
So those parts were sad to me.
Yeah, and another, like I just brought up the delivery of Clyde, and Cora was the midwife, and that scene also was very, very emotional. And that moment, you did feel like she needed to save Clyde.
Mm,
This is just an innocent babe.
innocent baby.
Right. So
But on
that
down
was
the road, why
right.
right.
Was that a difficult scene to write, Carolyn, the delivery scene?
It was. It was a difficult scene to write, and trying to stay in the emotions that were going through Cora. Trying to keep that in the story, that she knew what she had to do, what she needed to do, what she was purposed to do, and yet at the same time, because she's a healer, she
Right,
values life,
right,
and the Christian part of her is like, no, can't do that,
right.
can't do this. And so it was a difficult scene to write. I wrote it several times from several different perspectives. One of the
Hmm.
things that they often have us do is to write write a particular scene from more than one perspective. So I wrote it in first person, I wrote it in second person, I wrote it in third person just to get into her emotions. So it changed a lot. It was hard.
You did a very good job because I could feel her turmoil of wanted to do the right thing, but also feeling like she had, she, like you said, she's a healer. And so she ignored the signs that she was getting that, he was surrounded by darkness. Um, so very, very, very well done. I commend you on it and continued success on it. And thank you for so much for coming on the show. We're at our time. And that went so fast, but because there's so many other things I could say about the book, but it was very well done. And I do encourage you all to go out and get the knowing and and that is the cover on the screen. You will not be disappointed. Like I said, it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions, but it's very well done. And I encourage you to go check it out.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation and our discussion. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And continue success with the book.
All right. Good night, ladies.
All right. Have a good evening.
You have a great evening as well. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Now we're going to get into our second author of the evening. And let me see. Bring up her information.
Can't seem to leave. You guys may be stuck with me forever.
It should be an X at the top.
It should be, but
it's not sure. we just both having all kind of issues. Me with my blurry, I don't know what's going on with my background. All right. All right. So our next author is B Love. And B Love is an award-winning best-selling author of over 110 titles in the African American romance, urban romance, and nonfiction genres. B Love has been aptly called the prolific pen pusher. Every captivating word and plot in Love's portfolio is geared towards empowering, enlightening, and entertaining. B Love has founded her publishing company, earning the title of Ambassador of Black Love Stories, where she has helped publish over 300 enthralling books for over 50 talented authors. When she's not writing, Love utilizes her company as a platform that provides expert services and resources for both self-published and traditional authors, helping them to hone their craft and carve their path in the industry. And let me just bring on tonight's other author. Hello, B-Love. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And let me, tonight we will be discussing the book, The Loyal Wife. And there is the cover on the screen for those who are watching. If you're listening again, that's The Loyal Wife by B Love. All right. And we're going to get right into it. Okay, for those who are new to you, can you give us a little background on your professional writing journey, like how you got started?
Sure. Technically, I've been writing since 2012, but I wasn't officially published until 2015 under Naya Moore and Ambiance Books. And even though I hate talking about this book, the first book that I had published was Carolyn and Bishop. It was a very urban, ratchet book that I don't recommend these days. But that was the start of my published professional career. In 2015, I signed to maybe 3 more publishers before I went independent in 2017. Opened my company in 2018, and I've just been releasing consistently since then.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
What was the first book called again? I know you say you.
Carolyn and Bishop.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is JB saying? JB is saying I'm in the fog. Yeah, it looks like I'm in the fog. I don't know what's going on. I tried to get rid of it. Jennifer is saying hello, be love.
Hi, Jennifer.
All right. Now, what do you have like any like writing quirks, routines or favorite items that you have to have when you're writing?
It used to be Airheads. I would need a pack of Airheads before I would start a book. Now it's a new candle. I like to have a new
Okay.
candle for each book. Yeah, a
I
little bit.
love that. Yeah, I love that because I love candles too. What's your favorite scent?
Ooh, I don't know. I think it's chocolate lava from Yankee Candle.
Okay.
Their house smells just like a bakery with that
Oh man, I'm gonna have to check that out.
candle.
All right. Now, how did your connection with Black Odyssey Media come about?
My wonderful literary agent, LaShira Lee, she did something that I didn't think honestly would ever happen. And she believed in me. She felt like I could, venture from the independent to the traditional lane. So she set up the meeting with me and Entice. And Entice wanted some authors to do thriller. And I never backed down from a challenge. So
Okay.
I agreed.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Um, now, how do you balance your busy schedule with family and downtime?
It's a task. Thankfully, I write fast enough to where, because I write full time, that's 8 hours a day. So
Okay.
if I write 5 to 8 hours, I can get 10 to 16,000 words done. So
Okay.
it doesn't take me long to write a book. If I treat it like my career, I can get a book done in a week or two. And
Hmm.
so when I'm done with that, that next week or two is devoted to rest and acting like I have a life, spending time with family, all of that kind of stuff. But for those that week or two that I'm working on a book, I'm locked in. They know not to bother me. I'm not cooking. I'm not cleaning. I'm not doing nothing. They just leave me alone.
Say they already know, huh?
They already know.
JB is saying, love the candle ambience too. Yeah,
It's
most
a vibe.
definitely.
It's a vibe.
Ola is saying hello, and I have the Lord. She has the Lord wife in her to be read that.
Oh, yay. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, you definitely have to check it out, Ola. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
Um, now, what is some of the best advice that you have gotten since you began your writing journey?
The best advice that I've ever gotten was probably don't conform. And that's something that I share with my authors too, because my style was extremely different from what was popular when I first came in.
Hmm.
And every time I tried to do what was popular, the book didn't do well. So
Okay.
eventually I was told, just do it my way. I will find my readers, my time will come, everything will work out. And I listened, I did it my way, and that's when the success on the platform began to grow. So definitely don't conform.
I love that. Now, how did it come about with you starting your company?
uh, I did not see a lot of publishers publishing authors like me, authors who
Hmm.
wrote like me, who had a style like me. And it's difficult on your own to do everything involving publishing. And I wanted to give authors not just a place for them to belong and feel like, okay, these people are like me, they understand me, but also an opportunity to make their dreams come true without being overwhelmed with the edits, the cover, the formatting, the promo, and all of that.
Right.
So I decided to create my publishing company basically for authors like me.
I love it, and I read several of your authors. One I just had on the show not too long ago, Monica Waters, one of my favorites.
My baby.
Jennifer is saying that you do it so well.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, did you have any challenges since you were challenged to do the thriller? Did you have any challenges in writing it?
The only the only challenge that I had was like an internal thing of, am I doing too much?
Mm,
Because to me, thriller and urban aren't that different, and because I do urban, it wasn't that different from what I'm used to doing. But I
mm,
did have a fear of, are people going to support this because they're used to my urban romance or they're used to my
right.
contemporary romance. So I was just very nervous about doing too much because the characters were a bit crazy.
Yes,
Yeah,
they definitely were.
yeah, that was the biggest thing for me.
Now, how do you celebrate when you finish a book?
Usually it's with a good meal
Okay.
or a rest or a vacation. even if I can't go out to get a meal, I get a meal delivered and have like a shot of tequila or something. It just depends.
Love it, love it. Now I asked you what was the best advice that you've received. What advice would you give to someone just starting out in their writing journey?
I would give the same advice that I got, but I would also add to it now that I am a publisher too. I would say don't conform, write the story that's in your heart, but also research, research, research. Research what's popular in the genre that you're trying to write. Research what's popular if you're using tropes or if you're using themes so that you can execute your book correctly. Because not everyone can write as quick as me. So if it takes you months or years to produce this book and you're trying to perfect this book, but you're putting it in the incorrect genre, or if you're not promoting it correctly, or if you're not executing that trope correctly, it's probably not going to do as well as it could. So I would say don't conform, write the story that's in your heart, but also make sure that you study and make sure that you perfect your voice and your craft as much as you can.
I like that. Yeah. Now, can you give a synopsis of what the book is about, The Loyal Wife?
Ooh, this is always the tough part because I try not to give away too much. So even though it's called The Loyal Wife, it's basically about Dante, who is, when the book starts, in a bit of trouble, and he's running from the law, and he has an accident. When he wakes up, he does not remember much about his life. He remembers himself, but he doesn't remember his life, his career, anything like that. And his wife, Sade, finds him with all of her might. She brings him home. She promises to be there for him and help him not just regain his memory, but get comfortable in his new life while he's healing. And the longer he stays in this small town, the more he feels like something is off, not just with his wife, but with himself and with his life. And so he spends a pretty good deal of time trying to figure out what's being kept from him.
And it was interesting, the dynamic between him, Imani, and Sade, because they went back so far.
Mhm.
And although I felt for him, I also felt like he was complicit in a way in how things turned out between the sisters and between all three of them. Actually,
It was his fault. It was all his fault. It really was. He knew what he was doing, even when they was in high school. That was all his fault.
right? I'm like, oh my gosh. If he had just done things a different way, it would have made some, they would have, all of them would have had a much better life.
Agreed. That was the bad guy trying to be good, and then the good guy who was bad as an adult.
Right.
Right. Now I must say that ending, girl.
She definitely threw me for a loop with that.
I
Yes.
was like, that's the way you tell them. I was not chosen first, so yes. So is it gonna be a sequel?
It is. Funny thing is, that ending was not the original ending.
Okay.
The editor, she emailed me and she was, well, I don't think it was the editor. I think it was whoever read the book last. She was like, Miss Ma'am, if you publish this last chapter like this, they're going to destroy you. I had to switch up the ending. And because of how I switched it up, there would definitely be a book too, because Sade and Dante are not
done.
Okay. Sade might be done, but Dante ain't.
Not at all. He's just started.
Right. Yes.
Right.
It is amazing how the roles flipped.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness. But what got me too is the contentious relationship between the two sisters. And it was sad. It's sad to, that they, because you kind of got the sense that Sade actually, loved her sister. And Imani was just so narcissistic and so selfish.
Exactly.
And I can't even imagine, my sister treating me like that and just to be popular for the most part.
And the crazy thing was she treated Sade so bad because Sade was so good. She didn't want a loving sister who took care of her. She wanted to be so independent and on her own. And I'm like, girl, if you don't get it together, this sister really wants to be in your life and be there for you. And that was not what she wanted at all. So she tried to make Sade's life as miserable as she possibly could.
Yes. And I believe the parents had a role in that too, because of the way that they distinguished between the two daughters.
They did.
Yeah. And they They created a monster.
Yeah, they did. Even with the money they left behind, that was kind of like the final slap in Sade's face. Like, we're gonna give you a little bit. We're gonna give her a lot.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
What did you think about the two sisters, Shavana?
It was crazy. I felt myself talking to that whole book, talking to all of them. I was like, when I found out about, I was like, really? Y'all didn't even go to her house, none, and you would have, you know what I'm saying? It's hard not to give anything away, sure. I just had so many questions, and I was like, y'all are crazy. This is crazy. And family is actually like this. This is just
that's what's so crazy about it. Yeah. Sisters who don't speak and all kind of stuff.
right.
Oh, and then fall out over a guy, just like in this.
Yeah.
And if Dante had been, well, I guess they were all young, but if he had been upfront about his feelings from the jump, and then he was like the typical guy, he wanted the arm candy.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Sade was more, even though she was also beautiful, I guess she didn't fit that mold
Exactly.
as well as Imani did.
Yep, he wanted the popular cheerleader, not the girl next door. Ruin his life because
yes.
of it.
But he kind of got his cake and eat it too, because
right,
he had the popular one on, as the wife, but then he kept her in his life, Sade in his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was not looking too good. The more and more it came out.
And I didn't even think that you guys would dislike him until I got to the end. And I was like, this is not a book, babe. What did I just create?
No. Not at all. And then one of the questions that I asked myself, I wrote it down. How could a person be so oblivious to what's going on around them? But I know it happens. Where he really was just oblivious to what was going on in his marriage, and everything else, basically, in his business and all of that.
He had checked out. Like that was not the marriage he wanted to be in. That was not the life he wanted to live. Dante genuinely just checked out, and because of that, Imani was able to do whatever she wanted to do with it, whoever she wanted to do it with. So he definitely was checked out.
And I think he probably checked out because he realized he was with the wrong sister.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. At that point, the whole, we're going to be best friends thing was no longer good enough, because the marriage led to them not being as close as they were. So even though they held that title of best friends, they weren't spending time together as much as they used to and all of that kind of stuff. So eventually he started feeling the effects of his choice, and life was just a haze for him after that.
And the book also showed the lengths that people would go to.
Yes, it did. I did feel bad for kids though, but
yes. Yeah, because they were his kids regardless,
Yeah. That was probably the hardest decision I had to make, whether I would let the kids go with him or not. But because of what I got in store for book 2, I couldn't. But that was the hardest decision to make.
Because I was wondering about that, because I just expected them still to, be together.
Yeah.
Well, we know so when we getting book 2?
Now I can't say, but what I can say is my deadline to turn it in is in a couple of months, so I don't think you'll have
it. Okay. So that's still gonna be through Black Odyssey as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Now with Sade, was that when you were thinking about were you going too far, or with her actions throughout to keep Dante with her were very extreme? But I can see how it can come about, because you're so she's basically getting what she's always wanted. And she wants to keep that at all costs.
At all costs. Yeah. It's truly like a Lifetime movie in my head.
Yes. And a couple of the like Patrice, I think was her name. You didn't feel too sorry for her, at least I didn't.
I didn't either.
But because of the way that they treated her in high school, I think this is because
Exactly.
I did, yeah. So they had that history. But I did feel for Willow though.
Yeah.
But she was a grown woman who did something crazy.
With no
because
proof.
somebody told you to.
Right.
Exactly. She had no proof of what Patrice was saying. She was being nosy. And she was the innocent bystander that had to go.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It was.
That was the one where I was like, okay, let me wrap up this book because it's getting a little wild. Yeah.
And I knew they wasn't gonna revisit that situation and the rentals was gonna
That almost happened. She was about to be left for the next set of renters.
That probably would have been best.
Right.
Yeah. They was like, nah, but you gotta bring Willow back. I'm like, all right.
Because I really thought that, it was going to turn out different for her. Yeah. And it probably would have if he hadn't entered the picture.
Dante was ready at that point. He was ready to prove his
love. Because he had got to the point where he wanted this to last.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody is taking this away, from me. So he started, like I said, the roles flipped.
Yep.
Oh, man. Just a crazy roller coaster ride, but I loved it.
I did too.
Yeah. He's gonna be the crazy one in the next book. I will say that.
Who is Dante?
Dante. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Well, we kind of get that, yeah. Because Sade basically just flipped the script on her, and I was like, "Go ahead, girl."
I did.
Basically paying him back for everything that he did to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just imagine he's gonna lose his mind in book 2.
I can't share too much, but what I can say is the first chapter is going to be very explosive.
Oh wow!
Because Sade did what she did and left for a reason.
Oh really?
So that's all I can say. If you can figure it out, you can figure it out. But that's all.
Wait. I cannot wait. Then I got into a little bit of the psyche of both sisters. Mm-hmm. They both were damaged big time by their parents. That they had loving grandparents.
Yeah.
And you would think that what they had with the grandparents might have leveled them out a little bit.
Yeah.
Not so much. I think because Imani had the narcissistic type of personality. But we find out that Sade has,
People have been saying Sade has multiple personalities and that Imani is very narcissistic.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sade was a surprise.
I was like, she is really, and you're right, that fits the mold with her because she was like two different people.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Throughout the book. And I still can't understand Willow and her well, it was like you said, she was nosy.
Mm-hmm. In her mind, all she needed was a reason to be a hero. So when she heard that Sade was possibly holding a man who had amnesia with kids at home, that was all she needed to go be nosy and figure out what was going on. So. And
then it was a domino effect.
Exactly. Just being nosy, wrong place, wrong time.
Oh my goodness. And then the other, what was her name? The one that recognized them from, I think from school, she said, somewhere.
What was her name? Was it? I can't remember her name. Was it Veronica or something with a Y?
Oh yeah, Veronica. Yes.
Veronica.
Yes.
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like how that played out between her and Sade. And Sade was so terrified that everything was about to blow up.
She was ready to get another body, but she didn't have to. Right. She was ready.
Good thing Veronica spoke up when she did. Didn't wait too long.
It really was.
Oh man. I really enjoyed it though. So many twists and turns, and like Shavonna said, that ending
was not predictable at all. So that's a good thing.
Yay.
But this to be your first thriller you did it because I read a lot of thrillers too and mysteries and all of that. But like you said, it's the urban still also ticks some of those boxes
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
So you definitely have some some craziness.
It was fun. That was probably the most fun book that I've ever written. I really enjoyed
Okay.
it. Yeah.
See, that's my first book I read by you. So
Ooh, that's a high number one to start with.
it is. Now I gotta go down there, go
Right.
do
What,
some.
what what other books would you think would be the next one that would be good for her?
Um, if she, well, it sounds like you enjoyed the thriller aspect of it. So I would say Asylum because it's
Oh, that
contemporary.
just came out too, right?
I think February. It has
Okay.
that thriller undertone too. So I would say Asylum. And if you're into urban, I would say In His Possession, which is book one of the Black Mayhem Mafia saga. Now that is very crazy. It is more urban, but it's crazy.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to track. I haven't. I've been seeing Asylum, so I had planned on reading that one. So I'm gonna
That
move
was
that one up. And then I'll check out the other one too.
okay.
Oh man, but yeah, great job. I really enjoyed it
Well, thank you.
very much so, and I encourage everyone to get the book. And I'm gonna put this the
Thank you.
cover back on the screen. The Loyal Wife by B. Love. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. Like we said, there are a lot of twists and turns and a lot of craziness going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're going to very much enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while, so I'm glad to have you on
Of
here.
course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is one book I genuinely don't mind talking about. The others, I'd be like, but this one, I really love.
Oh man, yeah, and I can't wait for book 2. So I'm gonna be on the lookout.
Yes.
Yay.
And then I'm gonna have to have you back so we can
Oh,
talk
for
about
sure.
it.
For sure.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, everybody, thank you for coming out tonight and being so engaged. And please join me next week. I'll be speaking with D.L. White on her book, Hey Lover. And again, Beloved, thank you so much for coming on the show. Shavonna, thank you for co-hosting this evening.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And everyone have a great evening.
Bye.